Today, I will be discussing translation technology and how they are useful in everyday life and with different companies and businesses and how you can use them. First, I wanted to start by discussing how much money has been put into translation technology in recent years. The US government alone spent $517.2 million in translation developments just in 2017. This is not including the $4.5 billion worth of outsourcing technology that they use. Down in the far right corner, you'll see the 2018 fiscal spending on translation technology. This details the different companies that the government uses as outsourcing that will help them translate. This could include translation technology, in which the worker would be able to type in information or look up information on how to translate something, to communication lines, in which you would have a translator with on the line with you, or in person with you, in which you'd be able to talk to your client. How accessible is this technology to not only the businesses and corporations, but also to the public? This technology has become more and more accessible as its development has allowed other options to become cheaper. The original software is definitely useful, and the new developing software is more effective. Starting at the free sources such as Google Translate, it's easy for the public to access any of this information and type in, speak, or listen to how a word is said within a different language. The mid-range prices would be more of a item that you're holding or technology that you can physically use during conversations, such as that I will discuss later on within the presentation. And then at the very high end would be in-person translators or translating technology, in which you have a live translator at your accessibility. These companies charge thousands and thousands of dollars a year for their services, as they should, due to the high need for the translation devices. The photo in the bottom right hand corner is a link to 5 different types of sources in which you can use to find technology, whether be it for free or for a small to high fee. There are 3 main types of translation technology. The first being computer aided translation. In this way, it's able to connect one human to another. And by this, I mean when one worker connects with their client, they're able to access a translator and bring them into the conversation. I personally use this at work when I'm on the phone with somebody that English is not their first language. I'm able to contact a translation line and then bring someone in that speaks both languages fluently and is able to help me understand what the client actually needs and help them in the best way possible. The next one and most commonly used software is machine translation, software that uses computer algorithms to translate from one language to another. This can include speech algorithms, in which you would speak into the microphone and then it would translate what was said. This can be difficult as it won't always understand exactly what you're saying due to accents or mispronunciation of words, just due to common speech patterns. This is the easiest for the public to access and use because it's so versatile and in most cases free. And then there's a combination of both, which would be the website translation, in which you can use the information on your own, the technology on your own, where you can enter in things or look up different types of translations, or you can use another human being to help you translate from one language to another. Listening and speaking. These devices are entail a speaker that will talk into the device, and then the device will respond back in the requested language. I found 2 very interesting forms of this technology that range from pretty accessible to a little high end. The first example, which is the high end one, would be the Pilot. This technology sits in the ear like an earbud and will translate the information as immediately as it is being spoken. An example of this would be when you're in a conversation with a Spanish speaker and an English speaker. If the Spanish speaker says, Hola, ¿cómo estás? The English listener will hear in their ear, Hello, how are you? This type of technology ranges from $100 to $300, and it is fairly new, so I'm sure that in the future it won't be as pricey. The second example I found, which was more reasonable in price, was the SSK Smart Translator. This device looks like a small remote. It will listen to the conversation and then speak it back, what was said in the requested language. You would hold the button down, say what you want to say, and then when you release the button, it will translate the information and then spit it back out at you. This can be a little hard for the device to hear as other noises around you or slurred speech may not allow it to translate directly what was being said. The next form of technology is text input technology. This technology allows you to put in text into a program and then it will translate back what was typed word for word. There are some definite pros and cons to this. The pros would be that it's easy to access. It also has a copy paste ability in which you could find a document or an article, copy the entire thing, and then paste it into the program, and it will translate that article for you in English. Um, Another cool feature about some of these technologies is the ability to take a picture that has words on it and it will translate for you whatever the sign or text says um, into your desired language. Some of the cons is that the words have to be spelled correctly. If it's not spelled correctly, the program won't understand what was actually being said. And another con of this would be that direct translations do not always make sense. I learned this the hard way when I was learning how to speak Spanish, and I tried to tell my coworker that me and my friends hung out. What I actually told him was that me and my friends hung ourselves. He was genuinely concerned about our well being, but I soon learned how to word my sentences in ways that would actually directly translate and make sense. Some of the most common uses of this technology, or common known technologies, are Google Translate. They have an app, you can look it up online. It's very, very accessible. Another program, which is Stanron, which is a little less accessible and mainly used by businesses and companies. And then something that I learned while doing this presentation was that Skype also holds this technology, which is very useful as Skype is often used in the business world, in which you'll have business meetings face to face through your computer um, with clients that might not speak the same language as you. How are social workers using this technology? Well, to begin, social workers often have to work with very diverse families. This would include immigrants, people that don't speak English or it's not their first language, or mixed families that have very different cultural views. Another way that social workers will use this technology is to help explain court cases. Sometimes the terminology can become very difficult or hard to understand, and especially if it's not your first language. Honestly, sometimes even if it is your first language, it can become very cumbersome. However, by using this translation technology, it allows the client or the offender to have a better understanding of what is being um, brought against them or what they need to understand about the court case that they're in. Additionally, um, this technology will allow parents of immigrant parents mainly to receive the power back within the family dynamic. A lot of immigrant families have issues in which the parents only speak their home country language and the children are able to speak English. And in this way, the children have to become the translators and they gain a higher power within the family dynamic. By bringing in a separate translator outside of the family or bringing in translation technology, it allows the parent to have the power and to speak about what is being done or what has been said, and to tell their side of whatever complication has occurred. This is a photo of a group of translators meeting with social workers to discuss the importance of having translation technology and being able to connect two cultures. How effective is this tech? How effective is this technology? Well, some things do get lost in translation, as my earlier description of hanging out with my friends had described. Also, it can be difficult to understand one's slang. From one country to another, slang doesn't translate in most cases. Therefore, when we say things, it can be difficult to understand what is actually being said to the person listening. What using this technology isn't always perfect. Unless you have an actual translator that is fluent in both languages, it can be difficult for both sides of the conversation to understand what is truly being said. Also, there is some argument that this presents a disconnection between the client and the social worker. Having to use technology or an outside source may create a distance between the social worker and the client, whereas in most cases they want to form a bond so that way the client feels comfortable and safe talking to their social worker, so that way they can help each other in figuring out whatever issue is being brought upon them. Um, but on the other hand, it does allow for the client's understanding of cases. They have a better communication with their social worker and are able to explain and listen to what is going on and what they need to fix, what they need to do, or what type of sources can help them. Lastly, I have some links to some sources that I used and found. Some of these are very helpful into describing the new and upcoming technologies and also how much money we are spending as a country on developing even more.